Good afternoon. We are here at Moose FM in Fort St. John, and we're going to go chat with Bernard. Let's go. Welcome back, everyone. We are here today at Moose FM in Fort St. John with midday show host and production director Bernard.
How are you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing great, thank you. It's really exciting to talk to you. And you're also a NAIT graduate, which I am like, oh my gosh, because I'm one too.
Yeah. I remember we had chatted briefly over Facebook back when I was at NAIT. I never actually graduated, but I did take the program. So, well, half of it at least. I ended up moving to Vancouver, but that's besides the point. So, NAIT alumni, kind of. I have the sweater that says like NAIT Radio and TV, so basically graduated.
But I would tell you this, there are people that work in the industry that didn't graduate, and they are amazing. They're doing amazing in the industry. So it all depends on, the effort you take, right?
Coming to you, just tell us a bit about you.
So I am 28 years old. Been living here in Fort St. John for the last, is how long it's been. It's almost 6 years now living here. It's a great small community, lots of friendly people, and been with Moose FM as long as I lived here.
And so, what brought you to Fort St. John? Was it the opportunity?
Yes,
with Moose
the
FM?
opportunity here, and been loving it ever since.
What would you say is your favorite part of living in Fort St. John?
The friendly people, because Fort St. John is a very giving community. Like either you see a fundraiser, a lot of people will participate. Here at Moose FM, we do the Light a Moose event, which we raise money for the Fort St. John Hospital Foundation. And throughout the years, we've raised over $1 million.
Oh my goodness!
Over $1 million with the hospital foundation, and just seeing people at the live radiothon bringing in like $500, $1,000. It's really, really awesome to see. And even in an emergency situation, like you probably have heard the forest fires in Fort Nelson, which is like three hours away from here. They were evacuated just a few weeks ago, and seeing everyone here in the community step in, helping them, even just a regular resident saying that you can use my lot for an RV, which it's always great to see. And that's why people here enjoy living here, especially when you make a 2-year plan, it ends up being 20 or even forever.
That's incredible. The fundraising and the community involvement is so beautiful here. That's been a recurring theme throughout a lot of the interviews that we've done. Folks are really willing to put in the work and support other people, which I don't think you see everywhere every day. So
no, you don't.
It's really touching. You went to NAIT and you live here in Fort St. John, but I know there were some things in between. So can you kind of walk us through life in
Absolutely.
between? Yeah.
So I was born and raised in Edmonton. As you know, Fort St. John, since it's so close to Alberta, you see all the Alberta influences. And here, they cheer for the Edmonton Oilers. They don't cheer for the Vancouver Canucks. So my radio career all started in Edmonton. Worked at Chorus Radio as a street teamer, doing all the grunt work, setting up promo equipment like tents, the podiums. That's how you get your feet wet in the industry. Then I got an opportunity to do board operating for 630 CHED, which is part of Chorus. Eventually, after that, I really wanted to get on air. So I got my very first on-air job at MBC Radio in La Ronge, Saskatchewan. It's a town that not a lot of people know about, but it's like a northern Saskatchewan town. Very friendly people as well, and got my 3-year experience there. Then eventually saw this opportunity that, I want to give it a try. And then came here to FSJ. And it's been, almost 6 years living here.
Wow. How long would you say you were in Saskatchewan for? How long was that position?
3 years, yeah.
3 years. Mm-hmm. And how was that being your first experience really on air?
You make all the mistakes. Really, you really make all the mistakes, but at the same time, you grow, you learn from it, and you grow. The more you are on the air, the better you get. This is how the industry works, and even if you're experienced, some days you will have your bad days. You will just not be able to be on air, not be able to talk, or maybe even form sentences.
We all have those days.
but the like when you have bad days, you always have to think positive, because there's always another day that you can do better.
Would you say thinking positively is how you keep yourself motivated despite those bad days? You
have to think positive. You even though I am a person that loves playing devil's advocate, it's hard for me, but at the same time, I always say, think positive. Stop being devil's advocate.
Where do you think your desire to be on air came from?
It came from when I was young. I used to love entertaining my friends in class, love to talk. I would talk so much that my teacher would be like, Bernard is so talkative. And eventually I was like, maybe I should, use my talking skill as something that I can make a living out of, which I've been enjoying since 2014. So I've been in the industry for 10 years now.
Do you have a favorite moment or a favorite maybe interview or something you've done over the past 10 years?
Over the past 10 years, honestly, all of my interviews are always fun, especially when it comes to, talking to community members. Sometimes some community members like Mr. Mayor, who's a teacher at SD60. Oh my gosh, talking to him about his initiative with students, getting into the real world, working the workplace or job placement class that he runs. He is by far one of my favorite, because it's just his personality, the way he sells that job placement program. It's a lot of fun talking to him, and you don't have to just form sentences, form content while asking him questions, because he would just talk as much as he wants. So that's my favorite. When it comes to talking to artists, I've talked to Canadian artist Tyler Shaw, which was a blast. So that's why it makes it really interesting working in radio.
Yeah, never the same day twice.
It's never. It's always either you get to talk to someone famous, someone in the community, or something is on fire at the station. because everything is technical. There's so many technical stuff, and you just have to get through it. That's all.
What would you say is the biggest challenge in the work that you do? Like, is it that technical aspect of things can just set on fire?
Technical aspect, when it comes to an emergency situation, especially last year when the forest fires were really bad here. Fort St. John was placed on a evacuation alert. Thank goodness the alert didn't become an order. It was just an alert, and announcing that was really stressful, because you have to get the information out in a timely manner, but at the same time, accuracy is always important, especially when most people depend on the radio for that immediate information. Like, yes, we have social media, we have all that, but when it comes to an emergency and you really need it right now, and with Facebook blocking news, where do you go? You go to the radio and get that info.
And I think too, especially when you're on the go driving a car and you are in that emergency maybe situation, your only option really is radio, because you should not be on your phone while driving. So
no distracted driving. Yeah, you won't be. You can't use your phone. Like even just today, when the Taylor Bridge kind of closed for like, I don't know, 20-30 minutes because a vehicle fire was there. You just have to get that information out in a timely manner. But at the same time, accuracy is always the accuracy. You got to find out. You got to find 2 sources or 3 or 4 or 5 to just make sure you verify. That's the stressful part about the industry. It's just making sure that your info is correct and getting it out in a timely manner. But at the end of the day, once you succeed in doing that, it makes you feel really good.
Yeah, I imagine that would be really empowering for you and also for your listeners, because you kind of build that trust between them. It's like, oh, every time I listen to him, he tells me how it is. It's the truth. I don't have to, it's not like TMZ, no shade to TMZ, but like, like those outlets that just kind of release information and then you're like, oh my goodness.
Like the Glow magazine that you see at the grocery store.
Then you read the cover and you're like, that is not at all true. Something got misconstrued there.
It's always, but those magazines is always fun to read, especially they could have their side of the story, and sometimes they could be true, but sometimes they can't be true. So here at Moose FM, we always want to make sure that every piece of information is accurate for our listeners.
How do you stay up to date with the things going on in Fort St. John?
Okay, Fort St. John is a Facebook community, very Facebook. There are so many local Facebook groups, and for a small city of like 23,000, it's shocking that there are like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of Facebook groups. You stay up to date there. You see what people are actually talking about, and you use it for radio content. Most of the stuff that you see there, there is some content on that page that you can't use on the radio. It's just all gossip about someone. But if staying up to date is really easy, Facebook, reading our news department's website, energeticcity.ca, and that's how you stay up to date. Or even just driving around for 30 minutes, you can see what's going on in the city.
How was the transition between living in Edmonton, which has a population of I don't know what, but I think it's a lot.
Over a million
now.
Yeah,
over a million, to Saskatchewan, I'm so sorry, I don't remember the name of the city.
La Ronge,
thank you. Which I'm assuming was a bit smaller of a population.
Oh, that was really small. La Ronge has only like 2,700 people.
Oh my goodness, very small.
Like La Ronge was a really cute town. It's a northern town, very outdoorsy town, fishing town. It's a very, very popular destination for people all over the world to just go there and fish, because it has one of the best lakes in Saskatchewan. And yes, Saskatchewan has a ton of lakes, and it's not just flat like we Albertans would always assume.
That's crazy. I'm like, I did not know there was any water there.
It has valleys. It has it's called Saskatchewan Boreal up there, and it was a transition, because when you live in a town that doesn't have a movie theater, the closest one is 2 hours away.
Oh my
goodness. There wasn't a Tim Hortons, and there still isn't a Tim Hortons there.
Oh my
goodness. They just got a Little Caesars. They got a DQ, a Dairy Queen, a KFC, obviously, in every small town, a Subway, like they're everywhere, and pretty much that's it. And a few grocery stores, a few local places. It at first it was hard to adjust, but at the same time, when you explore what La Ronge has to offer, it makes it really fun. Like, honestly, when you move to a town, a small town or a small city, you shouldn't be, judging it before you go. Like, you see all these studies, surveys saying that, oh, these are the unhappiest towns in Canada. You shouldn't just read that. You really should go there, experience it yourself before you judge it. It's like, don't judge a book by its cover.
Yeah, I can imagine it would be quite the adjustment. I know for myself, I'm a big city person, so when we travel to some smaller towns, it's definitely very different, but I completely agree with what you're saying of don't prejudge it. Yeah. I know my family went on vacation once and we had to stop in a smaller town. And I was very judgmental, and I openly admit that I was judgmental. But since looking back, you can really see the beauty in the local spots that they have, and you can see why people want to live there, and what they appreciate about the space.
And what's interesting is that there was an article about how Fort St. John is really unhappy, and I feel that they're really wrong about it, especially when people make 5-year plans here or 10-year plans, and then it ends up for life. It really tells you that we're not unhappy. It's just some random person doing a survey and the survey can be anyone going in and just saying I'm unhappy, but just seeing everyone here being very friendly and adjusting, like living here and being and trying to adjust is really easy, because if you're from Alberta, you really know what the Alberta life is, and this is like Alberta. It's compared to down south in Vancouver. This is totally different.
That's crazy to me to think that there was an article saying people were unhappy, because I mean, at least everyone we have met, exactly what you're speaking to, had a plan of, I'll come here, or they were born and raised and just continue to live here. But most of the people that had come with a plan of, I'll stay here for a bit, all were like, I fell in love with it, and now how am I supposed to leave? And so...
I know.
Yeah. And it's also funny because we were talking about when we got here, we were like, this feels so much more like Alberta than it does feel like BC. Like, it's got that same homey Alberta kind of vibe to us.
It has a lot of Alberta influence, like a ton of Alberta influence. If you're into the redneck life,
Great
Berta life, it's a town for everyone, honestly. We come from all over to see this, to come here to work, and once you know the people, oh my gosh, you just fall in love with it, and you just spend the rest of your life here. Because I made a plan for 2 years, and where did it end up now?
6 years later.
6 years later, I'm still here.
And still loving it.
Still loving the people. Made a few friends here, and you just have to go out. You just have to experience it. Don't look at those surveys that, don't move here or anything. Just come here, experience it before you judge it by its cover. You never judge a book by its cover, right?
Yeah, letting go of that like preconceived notion in your head of, this is what I'm going to experience. Because a lot of the time when you come with that, that's exactly what you experience, because that's what you've sent out into the universe and what you're kind of impeding on things. So then how was the switch between a very small town in Saskatchewan to Fort St. John being a little bigger and, right? It's big. Yeah, you said 23,000. Yeah. 23,000
here. When the switch wasn't like being a big city guy, like you, big city girl. It wasn't really a big change. It was like it's just a smaller city, but you get all the city services. You have your Winners here. You have your all your fast food places. By the way, we have the most subways now. 3 subways.
Really?
Yes,
wow.
We have 3 subways here.
How about Fort St. John?
Instead of 2. And honestly, Fort St. John has a lot of food places. Is because it's a transient town. So a lot of people come up here to work, not live here, because right now we do have around like I say 39,000 living here, but most people are just up here to work, like to be in the oil industry or forestry, because this is a very oil and gas town.
Mm-hmm. We've noticed that at the hotel we're staying at, there's a lot of folks in and out who, I mean, appear to be working. They might not be. I could just be judging that, but they appear that they are working here.
Mm-hmm. And all the oil and gas companies are all up here. You will see, you know, like Enbridge and Petronas and all that all that stuff. Like it's almost like a little Fort McMurray.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great way of thinking. We thought the exact same thing of like, because we also did some filming in Fort McMurray, and then we came here and we're like, they have the same vibe of like that cute, wholesome community, but also that touch of a lot of people are coming here to work.
Oh yes.
Then a lot of them end up staying, which is
another cute fact. It's like, you know, once they fell in love with it, or once they drink the water, that's what a lot of locals say. Once you drink the water, you never leave. That's what the locals say. I don't know if it's proven, but hey, I drank the water already, so I'm still here.
Now you're stuck. What was the change like between being on air in both of the cities? Because one was really small, and then here you have kind of a wider reach of folks.
It's so the NBC radio station in La Ronge, I didn't mention this earlier. It's a provincial station. So it was covering all of Saskatchewan, but it was based in La Ronge. And the reach, I would say, both places have really loyal listeners. The loyal listeners are always the best. You know, when I first moved here, I wasn't that good on the air still. But as you get air checks and you learn more and more and more, you get better. I have a listener. He has been listening to this station for many years. Many radio hosts have gone through here. And he is by far like the best. He would even come stop by, say hi to me, text all the time, listen all the time. His wife is also part of the Moose Club, listens all the time, would even say hi to me and my partner and my husband, and it's just really. Like when you have listeners like that, like loyal listeners, it makes you really, really happy, and you know it's kind of like a relationship. You form a relationship with your listeners. You don't treat them just a random stranger. You treat them as like a friend, and you talk to them, and you know sometimes you just have fun with them on a topic, on the phone, and it's really, really cool. This is why I love being in this industry, even though there are ups and downs. Obviously, any industry will have that. It just, you know, seeing people who are so friendly, the listeners who are so friendly, you just, you know, want more every day. You just want to be in the office. You want to come in, have a smile, and be happy.
What was that experience like, of first kind of meeting your listeners and putting faces to all the numbers that I'm sure you have to like track for like who's listening when? Like, what was that experience like to see the people behind?
It's exciting. It's exciting to see, you know, you're not just talking to a mic and to no one. Some days you do think, I'm just talking to someone to no one. No, people actually still listen. And you know, when you get because radio, like some of my friends would say, radio is like, oh my gosh, it's like so. Like I have a friend who even said, "Oh my gosh, you work in radio? Isn't it only full of old folks?" I'm like, I'm not old. I'm only 28. And you know, seeing listeners from all ages listening, it just makes you really happy at the end of the day that you're you're getting a wide audience, and you're getting people, you know, saying hi to you, saying that I listen to you, and that you know that you're connecting to the community. You're doing your job right, and at the end of the day, you just walk out saying, I did another day, another good day of work. And when I see people like they talk about what I said on the air, it just makes you feel so good. I know it's like massaging your own ego. Some days, like even my husband would say, yeah, you're just massaging your own ego. When I go to the grocery store and someone says hi to me, and then they're like, and he's like, yeah, you stop massaging your own ego.
But you're making that impact on their life, and
yes.
they're feeling like they have that connection with you. You know?
Yes, and that's what radio is. You connect with your listeners. It's a lot. Some people would be like, no, it's not. It's about the music. No, it's not. It's about the personality. Because these days, radio is like, it has to evolve. It cannot be what it's like back in the 80s, where you go on the station to listen, because you have this. You have Spotify, you have that. You have to be creative. You have to be entertaining your listener. The music is pretty much like I would say the burger. The music is the burger. The personality is the sauce, because you wouldn't eat a burger dry. You would eat the burger with the sauces, the condiments, and everything else. That's how I compare it to these days.
I think that's a really great comparison, because I completely agree with what you're saying. If someone wanted to listen to music, I can just go on Apple Music. I can just go on Spotify. Like, there's a lot of venues that they could do.
Yeah.
So for them to turn on the radio, it's like, this person is talking, and I want to hear what they have to say, or I want to catch up on the news that's going on.
And you really have to think creatively. You really have to not be like, here's this song, here's that song. You just have to think that you are a radio announcer. You have to think creatively. You have to think of stuff that Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube Music can't provide, and that's how you win at the end of the day.
I imagine that can be challenging at times. How do you kind of stay on top of that, of always being creative and always being interesting?
And there are days that you can't be creative. Like, we both work in a creative industry, and there are days like, what am I going to be doing? What am I doing?
How do I talk?
How do I talk? How do I execute this? Because I was always taught that there's no such thing as a bad radio break. There's such thing as a bad execution. Because at the end of the day, you have to think about your listeners. You have to think about how you can relate to your listeners. Because if for example you work in a radio market, there isn't a Starbucks. Would you be talking about Starbucks? Because Starbucks isn't everywhere. Even Tim Hortons isn't everywhere. Like, look at my previous town, LaRange. There isn't even a Tim Hortons there. So it's almost like you have to know what your listeners want, what the culture is like here in Fort St. John, and you just go with it. You just go with it. Even if you have bad breaks, we're all humans. Listeners forgive you. Listeners come to you. You just have to be real at the end of the day. Sometimes you just can't try too hard, because when you try too hard, it won't end up well either.
Mm-hmm. What do you think makes a good radio host?
What makes a good radio host is to connect with your listeners. Get involved with the community. Community is very important. Like me, I get involved with the car club, and I go out to like, there are many car clubs here, especially being in town who like, especially this town with so many gearheads. That's what I call it, or car enthusiasts now. They just going out there, getting involved, meeting people, is how you grow your brand. You grow that. You say to the people that you care. The radio announcers care about the community, and that's how you're a good radio announcer. At the same time, you need to prepare your show. Always prepare in a way that it's creative and digital platforms can't offer. Because if you present yourself with that digital platforms can do the same, what are you right now? So it's something, you got to think about that every single day.
Without giving away all of your secrets, how do you prepare for a show?
Write notes.
Write
notes. It depends on each person. Some people, I would say I'm so jealous of them when they don't even need to write notes. They can just like skim through an article and just talk about the whole thing without just knowing without just writing some words or some sentences before the break. They can just spit it all out. I get so jealous of those people. Like, I can't do that. I have to write some notes, at least some notes to, make sure that I can form sentences. And at the same time, sometimes you lose your thought.
Yeah.
There are many times I lost my thought on the radio. There are many times that, there's so many messing up. There's like so many messing up, and you just have to get through it. You just have to get through the break. You really have to get through the break. And listeners understand. That's why you should never ever feel bad after one bad break, because if you feel bad, your whole show is going to be like going down, down, and down. But there are days like that too, and you just have to say to yourself that there's another day to do it, because if not, you're just going to have a bad week, even a bad month.
What advice do you have for individuals who are either on air or aspiring to be on air?
Always reach out. Listen to feedback. Really listen to feedback, even though if it makes you feel bad at the end of the day. Learning from that is very, very important. Especially, you want to be good. You also want to be, flexible in this industry, because there are people that want to be on air so badly, but getting on air jobs is hard, because there are so many people trying to get into the industry, and you're competing with them. Think creatively and be open. Be open-minded of what you're going to do in this industry, because maybe you won't end up on air. You end up doing promotions, doing production. And at the end of the day, you might even end up loving it more than you want to be, more than on air. So you just have to be flexible, creative, and reach out. Always network. Networking is so important in this industry.
How have you always been good at networking, or was that something maybe that was a skill that you learned like in a class, or how did you kind of build up your networking skills?
LinkedIn, using social media. Social media is the way to connect with other people in the industry, with professionals. It's because you got to build up that social media brand. Either it's TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, or X now, whatever you call those social media platforms. You got to connect with them, because what if one day you have an interview, and that program director is interviewing you for a job, and they're like, "Oh, I've seen you on TikTok. I love your stuff," and that's how you get the job. Mm-hmm. It's because radio is at a point that we are going digital. We want to reach out. We want to reach out to more people. Bring in the people that actually, like, for example, if you use TikTok, there are studies that show that radio stations that use TikTok, their listeners go up. It's because they're bringing people who don't regularly listen to the radio and bringing it to the station. So it's like a tool. Like we of course, the bread and butter is still going on the air and turning on the mic, but having a social media presence is very important these days. So just connect with your listeners, professionals than everyone.
Broadening that reach to your radio stations going on social media. I remember too when I was at Nate back in those days. Online media class, we had to Google each other as like an assignment so you could see what an employer would see if they were to Google you. Exactly what you're saying of like, oh, they could see you on TikTok or they could see you here, and kind of seeing what we looked like on the digital world and how to not fix it. That sounds bad, but how to promote yourself and create that personal brand in order to make it something that people want to work with. Yeah,
and that's what you need to do. You need to build that digital brand. And at the same time, you gotta when you're applying for jobs, when you're going online, you see this job posting, always read the job posting. Because there are, like, this is for new people who are applying for jobs. When you see people, like when you see this, it says that no phone calls, please. You gotta follow the instructions because they're always
don't phone.
It's almost like a testing in the real world, because I it's not just this industry. It's like every industry. You see job postings that says no phone calls. It's because the employer is testing you on if you follow instructions or not.
That makes so much sense. I mean, I've never called someone when they say no phone calls. I don't call, but I'm always like, why don't you want phone calls? And then I'm like, oh, if you're getting 1 million applications, that would be 1,000,001 phone calls to have to deal with.
And dealing with who wants to deal with phone calls these days?
Very true. I feel like nowadays people are like, I get too anxious calling on the phone, if you're not expecting it, all that jazz.
Oh yeah.
Coming back though to a personal brand, how did you develop your personal brand?
Again, going back to digital, it's going on TikTok, repurposing my on-air content, because here at Moose FM we have all these digital equipment that we can use, like a webcam that's set up in the studio, which you can record a video of yourself during an on-air break, and you use that on-air break as a TikTok video, and that's how you build your brand. You reach out to the people who don't regularly listen, and they come to you. They actually go listen to you because they're like, oh, I saw your video, I actually love your content, I should listen to this show. And that's how you build that brand, build that community presence, and of course, what I said earlier, getting out in the community is very, very important. So it's not hard. It's never overthink building your brand. And at the end of the day, don't overthink that, because it's not complicated at all. And making the listener happy, meeting them is what your job is.
Obviously, we don't live in Fort St. John, so I haven't heard all of your stuff on the radio, but I think just based on the people we've talked to, the amount of people that we were like, oh yeah, we're talking to Bernard, and they were like, oh my gosh, no way, Moose FM, like all of them knew you, and all of them jumped in like the best way, not to massage your ego, but
now you're just massaging my ego.
No intent of doing that, but I can see all the work that you put in, and I think you should know that it's obviously paying off, because the community that we got the chance to speak with absolutely loved you. So.
Oh, that's amazing. I really liked hearing that, and it's every day. I even though when I get compliments and all that, I always try to strive to do better. It's always like this industry, you just never stop learning. You even as a 10-year, 20-year veteran, you're still learning every day. You gotta be humble, very humble. Even though I do massage my ego a bit, but at the end of the day, you just have to be humble. You just have to accept new ideas. If your way doesn't work, maybe try another way. If that execution doesn't work, try another one. And be open to criticisms, because that's how you grow and how you have a great time in this industry.
What would you say has been the biggest learning curve for you throughout your time?
Biggest learning curve would be improving my storytelling, because storytelling it's like radio storytelling and in person is a little bit different. The way I talk and like talk in person, it's always the same. It is the same, but sometimes some words you gotta use different words. You gotta use that. And you just have to be welcoming. Like the way you talk to talk on the radio, you gotta be like you gotta pretend you're like at a bar. You just see these random people. You say to yourself, hey, I wanted to talk to those people because they're friendly. And that's how you have to, not be shy and talk like you're welcoming those people in. And at the end of the day, you just have to think about, think of how you're going to end a radio break, because if not, you're just going to talk, and it's going to go into oblivion. So it's all about the thought, and it's all about, it's all about relating to the listener, being relatable, because relatable is so important. That's how people are very engaged to your show.
I imagine that might be how we were talking about the difficulties at times if you're having a bad day, because that idea of talking to like a big group of people when you're really just talking to a mic. Yeah. How do you stay, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but how do you stay in that welcoming vocal and, I don't know, physical
You pretend you're talking to just one person. That's how you do it. You just pretend you're talking to one person, because on the radio, I was always taught, don't say, hey, everyone. Just say, hey, you. Pretend you're just talking to one person, because it's only that person. It's that person that's listening, that wants to be relatable, that you want to relate to. Not like, hey, everyone, hey, group, hey. It's like, hey, you.
Yeah, really making it specific, because thinking about that, then I think about being in the car when you're listening to the radio. Yeah. If the announcer addressed it as, hey, everyone, it's like you in your car. And it almost like puts you at more of a distance, as opposed to that, hey, you is, welcoming, inviting. They're talking directly to me in my car. Yeah,
that's how you're supposed to do it. Even at most radio schools, they always teach you. It's like they beat it to us. They beat it to our heads until you stop saying, hey, everyone.
Coming back to school, what was the schooling like for radio?
2 years. And honestly, I will tell you this. I actually graduated from TV too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You did both?
I didn't do both. I graduated from TV.
Oh, you graduated from TV, but then went into radio.
Yes.
No way.
So how it happened is I want to switch to radio in second semester. That's how Nate works. Nate will put you into radio and TV together in the first semester. In the second, third, they separate you. I asked the dean of the program, Pat. He said, well, there's no room, but you know what? Finish TV and do your practicum in radio, which I did, and and ended up in radio, and now it's been 10 years, so it's a long time. You have your days saying, am I good enough? But at the end, like, am I good enough? Why did I make this mistake? But at the same time, you just have to think positive and just get over it, and telling yourself there's another day to do better.
What was that experience like, finishing TV and then going into radio? Because I know you start off kind of learning both in first semester, but then second semester, like, you really hone in, well, to my knowledge, I never made it to second semester, but you really hone in on like the TV or radio aspect, and there's almost like that divide. Not actually, because I feel as though it's a very inclusive environment, but
I would tell you this, it's like what I said. In TV, a lot of people would say, "Hey, everyone." It's different because TV, you're more of talking to everybody. You're talking to a group of people. That's how the industry trains the people, is to say, "Hey, everyone. Hey, everybody. Welcome, everybody." In radio, it's like just that one person. That's the difference. And being on I would tell you this: being on the mic is easier than being on camera when you have to make sure that your hair isn't a mess. You're dazzle up. You're dressed up and that kind of stuff.
What led you to wanting to actually do radio when you had decided to take, or was it a thing of radio was just full, so you were stuck in TV, or did you initially go in with the idea of I'm going to do TV?
So, initially I was going to do TV. Then I got my first radio job during the end of first semester at a radio station, street teaming, and that's how I fell in love with radio. And I'm like, oh, I want to get into radio. I don't want to be in TV.
You're like, get me off camera. I need a mic. I mean, I guess they use mics
I guess
on camera
you
too,
still use mics on TV, but
you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you mean, and it's just and then eventually I was like, oh, I really think I can do better in radio, and I think I can succeed. At first, it was a rocky start because I wasn't that good on the air, and to this day, I still make a lot of mistakes. The mistakes I make, it's hilarious. Some days I'm like, oh my gosh, am I okay or something? But you're human at the end of the day, and you just go get through it, think positive, and just say to yourself that you could do better in the next break.
And like you said, when your listeners are loyal, sorry, I tripped over my L there, but when your listeners are loyal, they're willing to come back even despite some mistakes here and there, because we're all human, we all make those mistakes.
And that's what the human aspect is very important these days. We have artificial intelligence, we have AI talking. AI talking is like robotic. You don't get that connection. You just get a perfect speech. That's it. But as human, we stumble. We mess up, and the mess ups. Honestly, the mess ups actually is like the best thing for live radio, because listeners know you're human, and when you mess up badly, they laugh at it. Like, for example, I when I stumble upon a word, I'll be like, let's do that again. It's one of those days on the radio. And that's how you do it. And on the radio, you just talk. No one makes another voice. Like, we don't make voices. We don't try to, change our voice. You just talk to people. Talk to how you talk to your friends, how you talk to a random person at a bar you met that you think is friendly. So it's like that.
And I think, too, you were saying, your listeners can laugh at you. I think also they can laugh with you because, they see that human aspect of that human behind the mic or the face behind the voice that you get to kind of gift them, which is so cute, actually. Like, I think about it now, getting to meet them in person and stuff. That must be so much fun. and when you make a mistake, they call in. That's even that's even more hilarious. One time I made a mistake. I got a text saying that because I went to America, I went to the States and saw gas at $2.99 a gallon. That is very cheap. I accidentally said $2.99 a liter. Oh my gosh.
They were like, are you serious? That's not cheap. $2.99 a liter. And I didn't realize until someone texted me and said that, and I'm like, and then I did, and I made fun of myself
which is good.
After, which is like the connection that people want. People want connection. The human connection, the human mistakes, human everything. That's what people want. It's not. We just live in a world that we want perfection, but no, you got to show your human side at the end of the day.
Yeah, and you have to be able to laugh at yourself.
Oh yeah.
Because otherwise, it's. I feel like it'd just be awkward and tense, and people are like, "Oh my gosh, what are they gonna do?" type thing.
What are you going to do? Fire that person.
Yeah, exactly. Like firing someone off a little mistake. I mean, if it's life-changing, like life and death, I mean, maybe, but...
Remember, at the end, radio isn't rocket science. We're not doing surgery here. As long as no one died, that's all good.
It is a success.
It is a success.
Have you always been able to laugh at yourself, or is that something? Yeah,
all the time. But you just have to make it fun. Make mistakes fun. Laugh at yourself, and just move on.
If you could go on air anywhere in the world, not saying that you would ever leave Fort St. John, that's not what I'm saying, like gonna go work somewhere else, but if you could go on air anywhere in the world, where would you want to go?
I would say America, the US. It's a place that, you know, it's really hard to get into because as you're competing with way more people. Pretty much California has more people than Canada itself, and it's a place with, you know, so many radio stations. You have all these opportunities. You have all these opportunities, and they do radio just a teeny tiny bit different in the States. So
really?
It's more music focused than in Canada.
Do you have a certain place in the States, like a certain city, or just kind of anywhere in general you take?
Oh, and anywhere in general, but LA would kind of be a dream. I know LA is like the dream place that I would love to work at, especially when it's home to Ryan Seacrest.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. LA is home to Ryan Seacrest.
What a king. And the weather too in LA. I think that would be just beautiful.
But just a little bit smoggy. I went there
really?
Last month, and it is a smoggy place.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I think the last time I was there, I think we were seeing Post Malone actually in 2019.
That's so fun.
Yeah, so random, but
so random and so
fun. I saw
fun.
Post Malone in California.
I know.
In LA.
Posty now doing country music.
Yeah.
He keeps surprising us.
He does, but he is so good at it.
That is so true.
Right?
Yeah.
I feel like him and Morgan Wallen, I'm like, this was iconic.
And he keeps teasing now. He's now teasing one with Blake Shelton. He teased one with Luke Combs. It's just nonstop now. I think he's gonna quit. He's gonna pull a Taylor Swift, quit hip hop and go country.
I honestly wouldn't be mad at it.
Yeah, I wouldn't be mad at it either. No,
I was gonna say, do you like country music? But your whole station is like country, so obviously you like country music.
Absolutely. you and you know, like to new people who getting into the industry, you have to be open minded about the music because you don't know you're gonna end up. You're gonna end up one day you're gonna end up at a pop station, but you don't like pop. For example, or you're gonna end up at a rock station and you don't like rock. You're just gonna you're not gonna have the best time. It's always like what I tell people is be open-minded about the music, because that's how you have a great time in the industry. Because take any opportunity. If you need an opportunity, there's that opportunity. Don't say I'm not taking it because of the music. Just
fake it till you make it.
Well, that is one thing I tell people, but at the same time, learn to love it. Learn to love it. I tell them learn to love it because you have a food item that, like, take for example, you have a food item that you don't like, but you keep getting served. You just keep eating until you acquire the taste. That's how I teach people, because honestly, you got to be real on the radio. You got to be as real as possible on the radio. And I tell people just learn to love it and acquire the taste.
Mm-hmm. There's that saying, it's like you have to try something 21 times before you'll actually learn to like it. I lived in Vancouver for a little while, and the lady I lived with, shout out Honeyana, she would cook with tomatoes, and I hated tomatoes. And at first she would like make me something separate so it didn't have tomatoes. And then after a while it was like, no, just like learn to like tomatoes. And after, I don't even remember how many times, I should have counted, but I like tomatoes now. So learn to love the thing that you might think is actually awful, because it might not be that bad.
Hey, you know, there I know people in the industry who didn't like country music at first, and then they love it now. They even go to concerts.
Oh, wow.
They go to live shows all the time. So it's something, you got to learn to love it. You got to learn to love it. Be open-minded. It's always being open-minded. We live in a divided world. Hey, listen to both sides. Be open-minded why they agree with that and they disagree with that. Because at the end of the day, if they're a great person and they still disagree with you, you got to look beyond that. You got to find out why they do that. And after that, like after learning about something that's like things that someone doesn't agree with and you agree with, and the reason why they disagree, it kind of opens the world to you, and that's why it's always being open-minded is very important.
Is country music your favorite genre of music, or
it's one of my favorite? Pop music as well. Pop music, I'm a huge fan of pop music. Country, rock, I'm learning to love that. Learning to love rock, learning to love alternative, and you just have to be involved with all the music you want. And I will tell you this: even listeners here, they would come up to the station and say, I hate country, but I listen to the station because of the personality and the information I get. That's really big in this day and age for
that
radio.
Speaks volume.
Yeah.
Especially because they have the option to go on Apple Music, to go on Spotify, and just play the music they really jive with. But instead, they're listening to people talk and say fun things and give necessary information. So
absolutely, that's how radio works these days. It's not about the music, it's not about the juke, it's just about your personality, getting the information out and getting what the listener, like connecting with the listener, relating to them.
If you could interview anybody in the world or talk to them like on air, who would you want to talk to?
Oh my gosh, there are so many, so many people I would love to talk to. My favorite, one person I would love to talk to right now is Post Malone and Morgan Wallen. Okay, Post Malone putting out a country song is like the best thing
the
since
ultimate
sliced
power
bread.
move. Oh my gosh, yes.
Just in time for
the Calgary Stampede.
For the Calgary Stampede, just in time for the summer. Yeah. My second would be Kane Brown.
Oh my gosh, he's so good. I've seen his concert. He's iconic.
And then now Marshmello is involved with country.
Yeah.
I know. There's a lot of crossover, and there are people that disagree with that. There are hardcore classic country fans that disagree with it, but at the same time, I kind of compare the country music world to radio. It's because it's always evolving. You always have to evolve to evolve, so people you got to evolve to what people want. This is why I see the country music world as it's evolving. It's more popular than ever before, way more popular than ever before. It's because they are always finding new ideas. Hey, it can work or it cannot work, but new ideas, you always have to try. You can't just be yes, yes, classic country is great because we that classic sound, but honestly, if you really want to survive in a world full of noise, you got to evolve. You gotta be creative. You gotta think of new ways to deliver either music, your content, or just anything. And even just talking to someone just looking for a job, because I have a friend who is very tight knit, who doesn't think of a different way when it comes to writing a cover letter, and thinks that you can just write something generic and then get a job. No, in this world you gotta evolve. You gotta think about new ways to succeed. It's because we live in a country with lots of people now, and we just have to really you just have to really think creatively.
Especially seeing as the number of applications and things and the number of times they have to read "to whom it may concern" or whatever the opening line is for.
Concern. Okay. Like that's like "to whom it may concern" is like your last ditch effort. It's because if you don't know the name of the person, it's like a last ditch effort. So you just have to put effort in. Find out who that person is.
Dig a little deeper if you really want that job and really want that experience. What would you say has had the biggest impact on your radio career this far?
The biggest impact?
Positive or negative, like whichever.
The biggest impact, it would be just the growth I've seen throughout the years, from first time breaking the news that there was an evacuation alert in FSJ last year, to interviewing artists, to it's just all the events that happened in the last year or two. COVID really had another impact, is the pandemic really, because we never thought about doing our radio shows from home ever, and we did. And then it proves that we can do radio everywhere, and everywhere, like anywhere you are at, and people still think like it's and people still think you're in the studio. that's the biggest impact. But it's just the growth, the events happening, and being able to connect with your audience.
Where do you hope to see Moose FM in like 5 years from now?
My hope is to see increase in the support from businesses, because without businesses supporting Moose FM, it's not a thing, because it's where the bills are paid, because we need to pay for electricity, we need to pay for we need to cut paychecks to people, and it's just the growth, hoping that more businesses are just coming to support us, support what we stand for, live and local radio.
And then adding on to that, in 5 years from now, where do you hope to see yourself, either professionally, on air, just in general?
Just, to grow the career, to get to kick it up the notch, because remember, at the end of the day, you're always learning.
Are there any things coming up in the next little while that you're really excited for? Any radio events, community events, anything like that?
Oh my gosh, all the summer events coming up here. We have the Energetic County Fair happening next month. Extreme Mud Fest, first time in BC. Oh my gosh, it's just, the list just goes on, and you just look forward to it as well. Light Moose Radiothon, supporting the Hospital Foundation, always a lot of fun. 3 days of broadcasting in a trailer in the cold weather.
Wow.
That's always a lot of fun, so looking forward to all of those.
Would you say that the summer months are kind of busier for events and things for the radio station than usually the winter?
We do movies in the park.
SpongeBob is this Friday, right?
Yeah, SpongeBob is this Friday. We do the block party, which is coming up in September. We're planning that, and it's like one of the biggest parties in FSJ. So fun. So it's great for the family, and lots of families. So lots of kids here. I would tell you that there are lots of kids here. And yeah, like it's just we do so much for the community that it keeps us really busy.
We've kind of already talked about this, because you've mentioned the community and getting that one-on-one connection with people, but what would you say is the most rewarding part of the work that you do?
The most rewarding part is always making the listener happy, connecting with the community, making sure that our community is served in a day and age that we do have social media, but there's a lot of negativity. And radio is at the same time. I know radio offers information, but at the same time, it offers an escape from all the negativity on social media. So it's something at the end of the day, you make someone happy, you know, you did a great job.
Aw, that's so sweet. And then last question,
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be specific to radio or anything like that, but what would you say is the best piece of advice you've received throughout your life?
The best life advice, it would just be, you know, just never give up on anything, because what I was always told is you got to be part of the 25% of positive people. When someone tells you that you can't do it, they're wrong. You're the only one that can tell yourself that you can't do this. So that's like the best piece of life advice that I've been given. Because 75% of people are negative. They will always tell you you're not gonna succeed in your dream. And no, you're the only one that can tell yourself that you can't succeed.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Hey!
Hi, everyone!
We just finished up with Bernard, and that was so much fun!
He's such a cool person, such a sweet person, like, genuinely the exact same on radio as on film as in person, like, such a genuine guy.
Mm-hmm. And so great to talk to. Like, he's so full of stories and fun anecdotes, and I can see why he has such the, like, wide reach in the community, because he was just so incredible and it was so much fun. So check him out on the radio. Listen in.